to another episode of Desire to Inspire. It's your mama's favorite podcast, Dylan Thacker.
Frederick Rittenauer.
Hi.
Hey.
How's life?
Well, that's great, man. This rain couldn't come in at a more inopportune time, you know?
Right. Hopefully you guys don't hear it, but we are catching the tail end. We're catching the side. We're catching something of a hurricane that is rolling through this evening. So hopefully this makes it out.
I'm not parked close.
It's going to be a wet one for the guy.
I should have brought an umbrella.
I might have one that you can borrow.
I might need it.
Yeah. Because
I
it's
got a
raining.
lot of electronics in this book bag today.
Yes.
I still have the mic in there, so. From when my dad came.
No, I have the mic.
The blue one?
Oh, the blue one.
I was like, I have the blue one right here.
You should just start. Oh, you do leave that one here now.
This one stays here.
Yeah, that one stays here. I don't know if I'm loving the couch, but I don't know if I'm hating it.
I think today is a hard day to judge because it's so damn hot in here.
That is true. And I thought that the AC was down low, but apparently it's not. So, you know, this is why we get new things. We have to learn, adapt, and grow like we do in life. And I feel like I'm doing that in this podcast. But I do like that we have a little bit more space. We're on the bench. I felt like I was like maybe going to kiss you one of the times.
You know the chairs that Tone and Nikki have?
They would be perfect.
Perfect.
Yes. I told Nikki that when I went over there, it was probably a couple months ago. I was like, she might have actually told me, like, these would be great podcast chairs. I sat in them, and I was like, those are money. But
to be fair, you thought people complained about my nut shot before? Those chairs would be complete, like, whole.
I'd have to call you Hermosi or whatever his name is.
That's right, Hormozy.
Yeah.
It's gone, trust me.
Okay. I do not like his videos that he formats where it's just solely focused on his nutsack.
You don't think that's a marketing ploy at all?
It could be, but, like, why? For the female? Well, I guess male, too.
I feel like he doesn't have a female demographic.
Yeah.
He's not like a Tate demographic by any means, but I feel like he's just not, like, tailored for chicks.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I followed him for a little bit because somebody was like, you need to follow this guy. He's you, but has made it right now. Like, follow him. You can get ideas from him, this and that. Followed him for a little bit, and, like, I just don't gravitate towards this stuff.
I listened to this one. He's an acquired taste, I feel like, in terms of maybe the way he speaks. Like, this isn't, I don't want to say we're dumb, because I don't believe that. But, like, I don't like to listen to intelligent people, like, who speak intelligently. Like, I don't like everything to be eloquent and, like, structured.
Yeah.
Sometimes I want you to be like, oh, what the fuck? And not that he doesn't, but even the way he says it just doesn't feel like it. But I was going to say today, I actually listened to his podcast today, and he said something around the fact that he wishes, like, that Musk or Bezos or these people had documented their journey. And so his goal is that he wants to build what he's currently working on to $1 billion corporation, and he wants everyone to be able to see the blueprint of it. So I do fuck with, like, that aspect of, like, all he wants is to kind of show you what he's doing to get himself to that level.
Yeah, it seems like he's almost like a, in my mind, like a Gary Vee, where they put out so much free content.
Super transparent about everything.
They know that it'll pay dividends, and I think that is the holy grail, because it's so hard, and this actually might spin in perfectly what I want to touch on today, but it's so hard to get somebody to buy into something when it actually costs something. Like, they will know that they need it. So, and I hate that we always reference, like, working out and stuff like that, but it's just such a good analogy.
It's hard not to talk about the thing that you do, though. Like, that's our thing. Yeah. So it's hard to not go there.
You're right. It is. It's a portion, one side of it. The other side is more like you just do things. You don't. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they're all based around living a healthier lifestyle.
And so when I look at, like, the Gary V's and is it Hormozy?
Alex Hormozy.
Yeah. When you look at them, all of this content that they're putting out is free. And so what I was going to say is that it's easy to get people to buy into the free stuff because they're like, cool, I don't have to spend anything for it. But as soon as you charge $1, $5, $10, it takes that 30 times, 50 times, 100 times harder to get somebody to spend that money, even though they know deep down, like, yes, I should spend this because it'll help align and get me on track. But it's just wild that somebody, like, imagine if his stuff was free or was $10. Like, you could buy a subscription, like a Patreon or something like that, and that's where you got all of his information, and he just teased you with free stuff. Like, I wonder how many of those people that currently follow him religiously would actually buy into that.
Gary Vee or Hermosi?
Either one of them.
I think that either one of them would have a much higher number than you would think. However, I feel like that's the culture of these people. And this is something Andy Frisella talks about, is success zombies, where I think that's what he calls them. It's something like that. It's something zombies for sure. But it's the concept of consuming all of this content, but never applying any of it. You get so wrapped up and you want to consume as much of it as possible because you feel like that's the answer. But if you listen to it all day, what the fuck are you actually doing?
Yep.
And Gary Vee is a good proponent of, if you're listening to me in 3 years, you're not doing it right. Like, you're supposed to take this and apply it. Like, he's very open about saying that type of stuff. So I feel like that's the culture of it, though, is they would pay because they feel like it's giving them something. But it's not. It's giving them that quick hit, like we talked about last week, of, like, the motivation. But it's not actually giving them the thing that they're saying that they want.
Yep.
Thought he wasn't scared of storms.
He's not. Someone's probably out the door. It's even, yeah. I mean, you take it, and it's even looking at it from a different angle. I don't remember what I was going to say.
Hey, you know, it happens.
Distracted me.
We get off track, man.
The content.
We're talking about, like, would they subscribe to them?
Oh, that's what I was going to say. Sorry, I just blanked out, Decker. But it's like therapist. So, like, the reason why I hate therapy, and this is a paid service that people go to, because it gives them that feeling that a Gary Vee or Hermosi, like, gives them that satisfaction, that gratitude, that, like, instant spark of, like, okay, let's tackle something. But once they leave that therapy appointment, like you said, they're not taking free content or paid content and putting action behind that to actually see some sort of tangible change in their life. And so that's what, like, gets me, is, like, everybody is, I need to go to therapy. I need this. Like, I'm depressed. I'm anxious, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yes, that is all well and good. But what are you doing after those therapy appointments to make sure that you're not talking about those same things a year, 2 years, 3 years later, where they have compounded and compounded and compounded on each other, and you look back and it's like, oh, haven't done anything with it. Got a lot of great stuff up here that I've learned or I've heard or I've been taught. But again, if you don't put any action behind these plans or behind these thoughts that you have or these feelings you have, nothing is going to change. And so I guess it puts it into perspective, free or paid for. It really depends on the drive of that person.
I don't necessarily blame therapy for that. I blame the individual, because I think that there's therapists out there who it's not what it used to be. It's not just lay down on a couch and talk. I think that there's some more modern ways of doing therapy. And I've talked to a lot of people who therapy has helped them in some aspect. So it's hard for me to say never having been through therapy.
Yeah, I'm not saying don't do it.
Right, no.
I'm just saying that to it.
I don't think that it's necessarily therapy as a whole. I think it's more the individual is not going to take action regardless. Because I feel like when you leave that, you also know. Like, they probably give you something tangible to do, and you know you should do it. You just don't do it.
Yeah.
That just comes down to laziness.
Yeah. But, yeah. And again, there's no, like, repercussions to it, so it doesn't put you in an environment where it's like you're forced to do this. Subconsciously, you should want to do it. But again, it's how do you find that drive in somebody, and how do you pull that out of them so that way they hear themselves. Like we talked about in the one of our inspired calls the other day with one of our clients. They finally put action behind something they wanted, and they achieved it. We were like, we're doing this, we're getting this, put in the effort, it'll come, put in the effort, and like literally weeks later it happened. And so it's just a prime example that, like, taking what you're focused on, what you're needing attention on, and actually putting some sort of steps or actions to it will yield results.
I feel like we're putting the tip in on this topic, and we could just go all the way in, because I feel like we're dancing around your actual topic today.
Oh, no, that's going to spin in a completely different direction, but it aligns with...
We're talking about the first two steps right now. That's why I'm saying it, though. Or like the first two bullet points that you had.
Yeah, we could jump into it.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, we're right here. Let's
do it.
Shove it in.
Yeah, the therapy just gets me going. I don't know. I've really... And again, I've never been through therapy, but I've known a lot of people that have been in it. And
It's just like anything else. So there's bad everything. There's bad therapists. There's bad coaches. There's bad teachers. There's bad everything.
Yeah, we don't need to go down that path right now. But again, my idea of the impact I want to make is how can we take those people that feel like they're stuck in a corner and there's no way out, or feel like they're in a dark tunnel and there's no way out. How do we get them to see that light? How do we get them to get over that roadblock, to get underneath the river that they're swimming in? And so I kind of outlined on a Facebook post today, actually. And so whenever this comes out, it'll probably be like a week and a half. But like 5 things that I truly believe that each person needs in order to reach said goal or to get over said thing. And so I'm gonna say all 5 of them, but then I want to step back and I want to dive into them to see like what your interpretation is of them, or if you think they rank in importance of getting somebody out of that state of blah or that state of no motivation that they're in currently. So the first one is having the desire. And so I even linked in, like, obviously our brand, but again, we picked the name of it because there's meaning behind it, there's purpose behind it. And so step 1, having the desire. If you try and jump into a task, and I will ramble for a little bit and then let you chime in if you do not mind. So having the desire to do something is having some sort of spark or some sort of idea, like, I know I need to go in this direction, I know I need to do this, and I see something that I need to go and achieve. So you're desiring it, you want it, you yearn for it, you know you need it, you've hit rock bottom, you're like, I've had a fucking enough, I need this, I'm gonna go with it. So having the desire behind something to give you something to work towards, so putting in action. So step 1, desire. Step 2, action. If you have the desire about something, you're going to start talking about it more. You're going to start putting it out in the universe. You're going to start bitching to your friends about it. Whatever it is, you are going to put that out there. And so from that, it's almost like painting the big picture, having the desire to achieve X. Okay, cool. Now stepping back, putting action behind that, so that way we can actually conquer it and have tangible things aligned to be able to reach or achieve said goal. And so once you do that, it's like, okay, cool, I'm putting in the work, but like, when does it stop? And it only stops when you reach wherever you think that check mark is. And then you go and you reach the next check mark. We talk about it all the time, how dreams, they move. You have this dream, you have this vision. Like, somebody wants to be in college football, and then they reach that dream and it's like, fuck, I want to go to the NFL. Then they reach that dream. Then they want to be a Super Bowl champion. And so putting that action in, step 3 would be consistency. So having the consistency through those actions, through the mindset, through the desire, all of those things are linked together to keep the momentum going forward. And then that consistency will then yield into those habits that you form and the good patterns that you form to be able to continue to push and move through said situation. So having the desire, putting it in action, being consistent with it, locking in those habits, because once you're consistent, it'll turn into a daily ritual. That'll be those habits that you do daily. For me, it's journaling, it's going to the gym, it's having my coffee on the balcony, it's going for walks, it's doing all of these things to make me feel physically and mentally great. And then after that, after you have the consistency and you lock it in, to have it a formed habit that you're working towards and that you're doing day in and day out to keep on this track, to get your train back on the track moving forward, it's having the inspiration. And so anytime we get motivated, we get empowered, we get a sense of eagerness or just like pride behind something, it's having that inspiration to then talk about it, because you're doing it so much, you're being consistent with it, it's a part of your daily life. Now, hey, Dylan, I'm doing this. You said that you're struggling, or you're saying that you need a new job. This is what I did, man. This is what I did. I went through these steps, I did these things, blah, 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 and I locked it in. And so whatever that journey is, whatever that goal is, I feel like those 5 things will help align you in a direction that you want to go to not only reach it, but then keep going past it, because you will never step back to as low as you've been, because you know how bad that sucked and you don't want to go back there. So even if you fall back, it's not going to be down here. Next time it'll be here. And then you know where to build and keep growing. So that way you just keep moving that train forward in that trajectory that you want to go in life. So now that I say all that, what are your thoughts, Dylan?
Where would you like me to start?
I would like to break it down and see if, one, you think that those are like good things for people to implement in their life, or if you implement some of those and tailor in something else, and it could be like a 1-step thing, it could be a 3-step, but for somebody who doesn't have a foundation in place, are those good directions or all those good things to focus on in order to move through life and achieve the things that you want to?
So I'll start off simply by saying yes. However, I think that consistency and habits kind of go hand in hand. I feel like if you're consistent, you're going to have the habit. I mean, I understand why it's there, but I also think between desire and action, there needs to be a plan. I think too many people take action without a plan, and that's how you get stuck on a hamster wheel. You're just running, but you don't know where you're going. Just like we talked about with Gary Vee, you're consuming, and you feel like you're doing the right things. I'm listening to this, I'm cutting this out of my life, but what are you actually doing? You're still just stagnant. You're staying in place. You might not be going backwards anymore, but you're not going forward either.
Yep.
So that's the only thing I would add in between. But we're going to break down desire first, because I have a lot to say about this one.
Let's hear it, baby.
I think that there is a lot of people out there who say they desire things, and they don't. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think that you have to desire some grand life or even change. Like, I don't think that it's necessary. I do think it's necessary to grow, but I just don't think that everyone wants to do it. And so my message to these people would be like, cool, but stop fucking complaining. Don't complain about your job if you're not willing to make a change. Don't complain about your health if you're not willing to make a change. Don't complain about fucking shit if you're not going to change. Because if you don't want to change, don't complain about your current situation.
Yep.
Because you're okay with it, clearly. There's no desire to be better, to do something else. And so many people get stuck in this mindset of, woe is me, the world's against me, I can't fucking win, why does this keep happening to me? And so they bitch and they bitch and they bitch, but they don't do anything about it. So it's okay to not desire anything, but you completely lose your right to complain as well.
Yep. Dude, that's like, again, I'm going to take it as another sign, but the fact that you brought up linking desire to mindset, I just did a daily drive-by today about mindset and having that in place, because people do not realize how amazing it is to live where we live, to live in the United States of America, to wake up in one of the states, wherever the fuck you are, to wake up and be able to have the joy, to have the ability to go to work, to have the ability to stand on two legs and walk to work. Like, we take for granted these, where some people go over to war, or some people are born, or some people get in an accident where they don't have these, and their life completely changes. And oh, this is going to tie in so perfectly. I could literally cry right now, because life is truly, truly amazing. And when you start appreciating the little things and not taking those for granted and actually seeing life through a different lens, and when you want to complain, taking a step back, and I think this is what meditation and journaling helps with, taking a step back and actually analyzing that, being like, okay, let me think for a little bit, or let me not act before I move forward. Like, there's just a message in that. And so waking up and having the ability to breathe, having the ability to kiss your significant other good morning, going to the gym, calling somebody on the phone, like, all of those things are such blessings in life that, like, one day, I promise, you will fucking regret that you didn't do. I will promise you will regret that you didn't take that serious. I promise you will regret so much of those things. And so I'm bringing it back because this is going to link to something that I wanted to tell you. I don't think she'll care. My mother ran into somebody that she knew growing up. It was their next door neighbor. He was older than them, lived next to her family. And the gentleman was 25 or 30 years old or something like that. So young adult, lived next to them. And he would
always... This age now or then?
Then.
Okay.
And so he would always go over, talk to my grandparents, hang out with the kids, play with them, because there was 7 of those rascals or 6 running around. And so my mom and Ed were sitting at lunch, and she goes, "Oh shit, I think that's so-and-so." And Ed's like, "Oh, who's that?" And my mom was like, "Oh, he grew up next to us. I think that's him. He was our neighbor." And Ed was like, "Well, go and say hi to him." And Mom's like, "No, I don't know if that's him or not, blah, blah, blah." And Ed's like, "You're going to regret it if you don't go say hi to him. Go say hi." So my mom got up and she went over there, and I'm just going to call him Scott. I don't know if that's his name. She goes, "Scott?" He looks up, he goes, "Lori Parabeck, how the hell are you?" And she's like, "Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you." And when I looked at my legs and said that this is a perfect segue into a story I wanted to tell you, when he was 25, 30 years old, he was working for a telecommunications company, and he fell out of like a tree or off of a telephone pole and broke his back, and he's been paralyzed ever since. He hasn't had mobility in his legs. And my mom was like, how's life, how's this, blah blah blah. And so they're catching up, and he tells her, he was like, I was riding my bike. He had one of those like real low. Do you remember seeing them in Lorraine? Actually, the real low to the ground. They would have the tall flag on the back. Yeah, I know exactly what
you're talking about.
And so it'd sit down. And I think you would use your arms to like pedal or something like that. He was riding it on a sunny December day, and he was in the road, and there was a snowplow truck. I guess it was just cleaning up like little stuff. Snowplow truck that came and fucking smacked him off of the bike when he was riding it. And my mom goes, oh my God, like, Scott, you've been through so much in life. He was like, no,
that's a dark story to tell, though, on like an initial, like, haven't seen you in years meeting.
Yes, but dude, listen how much light was in this story. So my mom goes, oh my God, like, I'm so sorry you've been through so much in life. He was like, Lori, no. He's like, it was great. He was like, all I did was break my 2 femurs. And my mom was like, Scott, like, you broke both of your legs. Like, that's awful. Lori, no, I could have been dead. Like, I'm thankful that it wasn't just a truck. It was a snowplow, and it pushed me instead of smacking into me. He's like, it could have been so much worse. I could be dead right now. And my mom in her head is like, oh, my God, like, how powerful. Like, you have already been through so much in life, and now you have this outlook after this tragic thing happens. You break both of your legs. And so they're talking again. And
to be fair, he couldn't use his legs anyway, right?
No, he couldn't. But still, yeah, hopefully he wasn't in pain, but that still sucks. And so he then was telling her that he moved into a new house, he's doing good, all this stuff. He's like, but, you know, a big storm came, and it knocked out my power. And so he said that I couldn't use, like, my wheelchair because I couldn't see where I was going, so I had to scoot on the ground to go and find the electrical box. And so my mom was like, okay, and he, like, ended up doing something to, like, his lower extremity where now he has to wear, like, some sort of bag because something happened, like, fluid-wise or something like that. So my mom's like, oh my gosh. And he's like, yeah, and just when it was about to heal, the power went out again. And I reopened it, and now I have to wear this for like another like couple years or something like that. And so the moral of this story, and the reason I bring this up, is because he has every single reason in this world to complain on why life sucks, on why life is bad, on why life is against him, on why. And not once in that conversation that he had with my mom did he ever complain about anything. He showed praise for the little things. He said how situations could be way worse, how we just have to stay focused on the good, all this stuff. And the end of this story like really hit me, and I got goosebumps. And my mom goes, and I just want to thank you, Freddie. And I was like, you want to thank me? And she's like, yeah, I really want to thank you and Dylan. And I was like, okay, why? She was like, because she's like, when things like this happen, when something good happens to me, or when I have some sort of realization in life, she's like, I call it my DTI moment.
I might cry.
And I was like, whoa. I was like, what? And she's like, I'm serious. She's like, I can't tell you how many times I've been in a situation where somebody has told me a story, or I'm extremely down on myself and I hear something or I see something, and I'm like, you know what? This is my DTI moment. She's like, what you and Dylan are doing, the message that you guys are spreading, the way that you guys view life, the things that you guys have been through, or the things you keep in internally. She was like, but then put out to the world so that way it can hopefully help somebody else. She was like, I want you to know that it is impactful and it is touching people. And she was like, and for that, please, like, never stop. She's like, keep tackling this dream, keep this, keep that. And so I made a daily drive by, and I cried in it on my way to Georgia, because 30 minutes before that, I reached out to a few people that I hadn't talked to in a while to check in on them. And I didn't want to make the phone calls because I was like, oh, just listen to this story, or I'll listen to this podcast. I was like, you know what? No, I've been saying this forever. Let me check in on them. I made those 2 or 3 phone calls, checked in on them, had great conversations with these people. And then my mom calls me and she tells me this story. And then she hits me with, these are my DTI moments. And it just hit me that, like, bro, what we're doing is truly making an impact. Yeah. And what and how we view life is encompassed by more people than like to express or like to show it. And so I hope that you see the vision that I have now with the DTI moment. And I truly think that one day this is going to be a movement that people talk about. This was my DTI moment when I went through this. This was my DTI moment that got me over this. This was my DTI moment that made me see this in life. and we take that and we grow and we expand on it, because everybody's got a fucking story, bro. Everybody is holding something in that hurts them, that they don't express because they don't want judgment, because they don't want people's opinion, because they don't want people to view them differently. Everybody's got secrets that they hold in because they're like, I don't want to be judged for X, Y, and Z. But what everybody doesn't have is that community, is that family, is that friend support system to go to. And I hope that we can one day be that support system around the world where people join us and this movement of just positivity, of getting through the hard times, of talking about the hard times, so that way somebody else can learn, grow, and develop from those. And I truly believe that that was a major sign. And again, I hope that it hit you the way it hit me. And I wish it could have came from my mom to you, because it meant so much more just hearing her spit that and hearing it from an outside factor. Like, yes, I know she's my mom, but how many times have I joked on here, like, my mom doesn't listen to these. My mom doesn't follow us. She supports us. And like, bro, like, we don't know who's watching. We don't know who's listening. But like, we have to keep going, bro, because we're making a difference in people's lives, just like Scott did to my mom that day.
That's actually crazy, and I agree. I mean, I was tearing up during the telling of it because I think that is super impactful. But I mean, to go back to like even the whole Scott thing, it's literally all perspective. I think that as humans, we get caught up in like life is good or life is bad, but at the end of the day, life just is. The way that we react to things is what it becomes. So you can look at it as good or you can look at it as bad. But whatever you view it as, that's what it's going to be. And like, that's where the momentum is going to take you. We talk about all the time, like, you can have positive or negative habits. Like, the things that you do are going to become habits, and the way that you view things is 100% a habit. You can either get dark and go negative and say, like I was saying earlier, woe is me, like, why me? Or you can have that reaction to it.
Yep.
You can look at it like, things could have been so much worse. My parents just got 4 foot of water in their basement. Everything's destroyed. And my mom kept saying, you know, it could have been worse. Like, it's all right. Like, all this stuff's replaceable. So
I think if you go through life and you carry that attitude, as hard as it can be at sometimes, and I'm sure there's times where Scott sits at home and he is like, fuck this shit. But again, he's found his purpose, his why. He's got a story. And no matter the good or bad times, like he tends to focus, or he prioritizes focusing on the good times versus the bad times, because what does focusing on the bad times bring you other than more bad times?
Exactly.
And so just like anything in life, MMA fighters, teachers, students, mothers, fathers, soccer players, all of those people put in repetitions day in and day out to master the thing that they're working towards. So again, you would not get good at basketball if you didn't practice day in and day out. You go elementary school, cool. Then you make the middle school team. Then you make the high school team. Then you go to a collegiate team. Then you can go to the NBA. But I promise you, there are days that Steph Curry, that Tim Duncan, that Michael Jordan, that LeBron, they woke up and they're like, I do not want to fucking dribble a basketball today. I do not want to shoot one more fucking basketball. But they knew that their purpose and their why was, I'm going to be the greatest player. I'm going to win a championship, or I'm going to make it to the next level. And so I say this and I use that analogy of a sports thing because it puts it in perspective that life consists of reps. We have gotten to the point where we get overweight because we have put in the reps of eating bad, of not being active, of not moving, of sitting on the couch. We have put those reps in and day out. And so instead of just eating out one day a week, now it's, or one meal a day, now it's turned into 2 meals a day, and then it turns into 3, and next thing you know, it's like, oh wow, I never cook at home, I always go out. And because of that, it keeps you on the couch more. It makes you fatigued during the day. It makes you more tired throughout the day. It makes you think differently. And again, you're putting in those reps. You're eating that shitty food, eating that shitty food, eating that shitty food, not working out. And then you get to a point and it's like, what the fuck happened to me? And so when we break it down and we look at life in that avenue and that perspective of reps, the same thing goes for if you want to get your mental right, your physical right, your relationship right. All of that stuff consists of reps. You have to put the reps in day and day out.
I'm going to backtrack on something I said earlier, actually. Okay. The word plan doesn't need to be in there. And I'm only saying this because I sent you guys a picture from 6 years ago and said where it all started. Because that was a memory on my Snapchat today. And that was probably...
that up so they can see it.
All right.
That was a cool picture.
That was probably 6 or so months into like me working out. And at that time, I had no plan. I was just going because I knew that something needed to change. Mm-hmm. And so my action was just show up. There wasn't a plan behind it. I definitely didn't know I'd be here. But I knew I had the desire, and so I took action. So I will backtrack and say you don't need a plan to start. Mm-hmm. You just need to fucking do it. I mean, I think eventually you need a plan, but in the beginning, if we're talking about just getting started, you don't. Because back then, dude, I had a trainer, so they probably had a plan, but I didn't have a fucking plan.
Yep. Yeah, and that trainer made sure that you put in those reps, figuratively and literally.
They probably made sure I put them in too much. She was on my ass. I would go train, and then I would go back to like a class that she hosted because she wanted to make sure that someone showed up.
I love that.
I was there a lot.
And that's what it is. It's having that person in your life that can hold you accountable. A lot of people are like scared or intimidated or don't want to like own up that they need the help. And like, fuck that. Reach out to people. If you see somebody on your timeline doing something in an area that you know you need to work on, reach out to them. If they're doing something or started something that you want to do, reach out to them. 99% of people, maybe 98.9% of people that are doing something productive, working towards something, will be more than fucking happy to share their story, to share the journey of how you get started. I look at my buddy Eiffel, and I'm just like mind blown at the empire that he's building right now. And dude, he has stressful times, this and that, but he's so happy doing it. And he will literally bend over backwards and skip something to go and help somebody else get started or to give them advice. But the crazy thing is, because I talked to him about this, I was like, I know you have people reaching out to you. I was like, but do you ever stray away from trying to help them because so many people reach out but don't put action behind it? And he goes, that is a frustrating part. He was like, and I don't remember what he said, but pretty much along the lines of like, you never know who that one person is that's going to catch on to like take it.
I mean, we understand that because how many friends or family have hit us up like, hey, can you help me get started?
Yep.
And then they don't get started or they put it off or this and that. So like, I completely understand that. But like you said, he has stressful times. You're going to have problems no matter what. Poor people problems, rich people problems. At some point, you're going to have problems. You just got to choose, like, what problems am I okay having? Like, because we're all going to have them. It's never going away no matter what you fucking do.
Yep. Yeah. It's all about that, again, utilizing that community that you have. And if you don't have a community, finding one that fits things that you want to focus on, things that you want in and out of life. And I think we're on the forefront, and this is where we'll capture as we build this out and grow this thing. Dylan is like bringing those people in because they're like, oh, I feel lost out there. This world is so big. It's so like, I don't know what direction to go, but like, I know that I want to focus on my mental and physical health. How can I jump in? Like, who can I talk to? Come in, talk to us, talk to the people in it. We're forming this community. One day there will be hundreds of people. We're going to look back at these episodes, laugh at the setup that we think right now is like pretty fucking dope. Like, hey, dude, look at what we're doing. But it's just working and striving towards those things and not being scared to like ask people for that advice or take a leap on trying something new. Because again, we as humans are natural observers. We see what's going on. We talk about what's going on. We don't always voice what's going on, but we are natural observers. And I did it. I'm just giving out all my daily drive-bys, but I did this one today as well on my way to my haircut, where I was talking about what it's like living your life. And so from the relationship that you have, like your relationship is somebody's dream relationship. Don't take it for granted. Your house that you live in is somebody's dream house. Don't take it for granted. The car that you drive is somebody's dream car. Don't take it for granted. And what I mean by that is even the analogy of you going to a gym and it's like, oh, fuck, I want to look like that person. They use you. Like you may think that you don't look great, but there's somebody in that gym that's looking at you like, I want to get to where they're at. And then they get to where you're at and now they're going towards somebody else. It's the same thing with the stuff that we have and we take for granted every day. This nice apartment that I live in is somebody's dream apartment. They're working to get in here. Where I'm looking at like people's houses, I'm dreaming to get in that next. People's cars, like I was drooling at the mouth at like all of my friends. They had new cars. I need a new car. And I didn't have it. And so I would use them.
Came and looked at mine.
So I would use them and be like, God, that's my dream car. And then next thing you know, now I got a car and it's like, oh, cool. And so I say all of this because it's not to boast or brag about the things that you have individually, but to never take those for granted. So wrapping it into the first point that we talked about, not taking those things that we have in life and just being like, oh yeah, I have it, and not appreciating it. Appreciate it. Because again, somebody is chasing, somebody is moving to achieve what you have. They're using you as that motivation. So keep driving forward and having something that you're working towards so you never fall off, so you never stop. Because again, there's people that get divorced and they took their relationship for granted. It was like, oh yeah, this is my girl. Okay, cool. They stopped hugging her as much. They stopped kissing her as much. They stopped going out on dates as much. Next thing you know, she's fed up. You guys get divorced. You guys split up. And now months, years later, you're like, damn, I really fucked up. Like I should have stayed with her. I had it really good. I'm out here dating people, and I'm just using analogies.
I know what you're doing.
Okay.
I know that.
Some people get offended.
That hate me.
So you look at all of these things, and again, it's the nice car, the nice car, the nice car. Well, what happens if you lose your job and now you don't have that nice car because you took your job for granted, you took your car for granted, and now it's like, what the fuck do I do? Do I let it get foreclosed on? Do I let it get repoed? And so all of these things, we have to keep a focus, and we have to keep this top of mind, is that this shit can be gone tomorrow. Your life can change tomorrow. And so what we can do today is wake up with a positive mindset. Even if it's the hardest fucking day of your life, talk positively, because if you're telling yourself positive things are going to come from it. But if you're always telling yourself those negative things, if you're always beating yourself up, that's all you're going to get back in return. And so focus that time and attention. People want to know where to start. Start with your fucking mindset. Start with your mindset. Get passionate about something, get the desire for something, so that way you know what you can work towards or what you can go to achieve, because you're like, yes, this is where I'm going to start. I'm excited about it. I'm motivated about it. Now let's go while the fuel's here and the fire's hot.
Just a heads up for you guys. When you get this mindset, you're also going to have to eliminate people without that mindset. And I'm not saying cut them out completely. That's not what I'm saying here at all. But if you are trying to be more positive, and you're around people who are constantly negative, constantly complaining, never see the good shit that they do already have, and they're focused on that next thing, you're going to get dragged back into it. You're already there, and it's like, that's you right now. Mm-hmm. So every time you try to go, they're just going to pull you back in. And that's something I've struggled with before. I'll say 100%, like candidly, that when I'm in a dark spot, I tend to gravitate towards those people when I know that the thing I need to do is actually the opposite.
Yep.
But it's easier to be around people who are on the same wavelength as you and in the same scenario, because you don't feel like the odd man out. But the more you feel like the odd man out and you feel like you're doing something different, you're probably on the better path.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, your environment is everything. And sometimes it takes getting out of that to actually be able to see or make that change. Mm-hmm. Because, again, people will cheer for you. And I actually saw a clip from Hormozy as we're talking about him. I saw it where it's like, yeah, I would sleep on the gym floor at my gym or whatever, and everybody was rooting for me, and they knew the goals and dreams and ambitions that I had. He's like, but then you start getting there, and they're like, oh, you're too good for me. Oh, you don't have time to spend with me. Oh, and he was like, and so you'll realize, he's like, and if people are telling you that, he's like, just move on, because one day you're right. You won't talk to them. You won't be in their lives because of the changes, the this, the blah, blah, blah. He's like, don't waste another breath on it. He's like, I'm telling you, this is how it works. And it was one of his like things of his blueprint. He's like, this is the advice I give, whatever, blah, say blah. And it's so true. It's just wild because, again, how do you capture that fuel that you get? Like, so if you're in a dark place and you finally find a little bit of pizzazz or a little bit of lighter fluid, how do you light that match to then keep that going, to have the desire to find the action, to keep the consistency, to build those habits, and then to inspire other people? And again, I think what you said is the main point, is just like having that environment in your head, environment around you, environment at work, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's deeper than just your mindset. And I think that that's actually what people think, which kind of goes back to, I don't know if it was this episode or last episode where we were talking about the people who consume. I think it was this one. Just consume. They feel like it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's the wrong thing to do, but it's in your head. But if everything else in your life is a fucking shit show, you're still going to be a shit show.
Yep. I was talking to my barber today, and he was telling me, he was like, dude, he's like, just get started. He's like, and he literally said, if your life's a shit show, clean out your closet, organize it. He's like, guess what? Now your closet's clean and organized. Okay, cool. Now go to your bedroom, start cleaning that. And he was like, and I guarantee you, if all of those things are messy, if all those things are crowded, if all of those things don't have like places in them, he's like, then your life probably doesn't have a place for it, and you need to find that. And I was like, do you watch my shit? Do you know what I say? And so I like obviously used my laundry example of like putting that shit away. Stop leaving tasks out there to do when you can knock them out in minutes and you don't have to worry about it or stress about it. But I think that's another thing that just solidifies like the way we think, the basics, the habits, all of that aligns with this like lifestyle that we're trying to tell people. Because again, we don't want all of the marathon runners and all of the stage athletes and all of the professional people, like those aren't the caliber of people we're going towards. Maybe marathon for like you, but like the stage people and professional athletes in that realm of fitness, we want the common everyday person of how can you live a healthier, happier life. And I think that it comes down to those basics of just structuring things and having that vision, that outlook, and that environment to build off of.
I don't even want to say we don't want them, because it's not even, if you want a happier, healthier life, I don't care what your overarching goal is. If it's something else, but you just need a community to be a part of, by all means. Because I know a lot of people who are what people would consider elite in this area, like bodybuilding. I know people who are running 100 miles, Ironmans, all this shit, but they understand that this is what it is, though. And they have that positive mindset, which I will attribute to, I believe, is more of the BPN community, the Twitter community I'm a part of. All of those people, I feel like, have the same mindset.
Yeah.
They know that it's small things that turn into the big things. Like, it's not doing some crazy thing that's going to get you there. And sure, they might do crazy things. And you might think that they're crazy things. Not you, just in general, might think that they're crazy things. But at one point, they were just getting started. And that goes right back to what I was just saying about 6 years ago. At that point, I had no idea what I would be doing now. And we're 8 weeks out from running a marathon. My third fucking marathon. Which is, that dude would have never even thought of.
Yep. Damn. Yeah. That's sweet. I was looking around the room as we were speaking and talking, just like overall concepts of the topics. And like I would look up and I'd be like, oh. And then I'd look up a little more and be like, oh. Look at you and be like, oh. And I'd look over there. Like, bro, there's DTI everywhere. And like, again, when you consume yourself with something, I think that, is how it builds and grows. And so it's just cool. Like, literally everywhere I look, I'm like, all right, cool.
Me and Justin went down to the pool on Friday, maybe Thursday, like for the last hour and a half of work, and I was just like working from down there. And so we each had a bottle down there, and some lady in the pool asked us like what DTI was.
Let's go.
And I mean, she was like she was probably like a upper 50s, maybe plus.
Fuck yeah. Like
older lady, and she asked what it was, so like we kind of explained it. And she was like, she does some kind of like online coaching. It's very different. Yeah. But like she was talking, she was like, oh, it's your brand? I'm like, yeah. He's like, it's him and it's my cousin. And it's like, we were just bullshitting with this lady about it.
Fuck yeah.
But it's like, it's probably not going to transpire in anything, but it's one more person who knows what it is.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's cool. I don't know. I love talking about it. I love talking about these different things because, again, in a world where there's so much information and so much things being thrown at us, I think we just need to step back from all of that and realize like it is basic and it starts and ends with us, and that like is everything. Like you do not need the internet, you do not need your phone, you do not need anything, no equipment to just get started on your mental and physical. Like you can literally take this thing we have here and start and go down a direction, use this for body weight exercises, use this to change the mindset to get a path going, and then start feeding stuff in there so that way you're not overwhelmed, and start throwing it in, throwing it in, and pretty soon you'll be dumping it in by the truckloads because you're to a place where you can consume all of that, or you can take that stuff as motivation to keep pushing and spreading whatever message it is or whatever goals it is that you have.
But the fact that you do have this kind of takes away every excuse. If you don't know anything, if you aren't knowledgeable on it, if you don't know where to start, it's a quick Google search away.
Yep. So just remember
Google DTI.
Yeah, that's the first thing. And to keep the 5 steps in your mind, I'm going to also write a newsletter about this because, again, I want to drive this home. And I think these 5 will change, like you said, because I think for my concept of it, it was like the beginning stages. But like, yes, like you 6 years ago could have used the 6 years ago. Now you need a little bit more structure to it. So it's adding that plan in, it's adding metrics in, it's adding like whatever those things are that would add to this list.
It's just building blocks.
Yep.
You got to start.
It's
with
just
the
like
foundation.
a dream. It's just like a dream. Once you hit that dream, it's like, all right, how do I get to the next dream and the next dream? So remember, life is always changing. Life is never going to be easy. Life is never going to just hit this magical point where, okay, now you can sit down and slow down. Like, you always constantly have to keep working. So find your purpose, find your why, but have these 5 things in place: the desire, the action, the consistency, the habits, and the inspiration to be able to move forward in whatever that is in all areas. And remember, not all days are good days, but the bad days make the good days better. And you can learn, develop, and grow from those. So just keep pushing forward. Don't stop. And when you want to talk negatively to yourself, talk positively and see how that changes things. So I have the desire to inspire. Remember, it's your mama's favorite podcast. Dylan, I appreciate you. I'm excited for this journey, and we're going to keep going, baby.
Appreciate you too, man.
It's on.
Peace.